All right, this module is advanced posts. So what advanced posts are is it is where your blog posts are displayed. So if you're using the Charity 2 demo, you will see towards the bottom of the page on the home page, these elements here. This is the advanced blog, like the advanced posts. Okay, so it's all about how these will be displayed. So let's get into it. Let's go through some of these options. Okay, you have such a variety of options you can use. So if you jump over and have a look at Ultimate Beaver add-ons, you'll see they've got 9 examples. Okay, so you can go from very simple, just with text overlay. You can go more in like a big grid with just very like random, well, not random sized photos, but some of them are a little bit bigger than others. You can go example 3 is a little bit more uniformed, where it's actually a carousel. So you can have your blogs and posts scrolling through a carousel. Example 4 is similar to the other one, where it's a masonry grid, where you also have these filters. So if you had a couple of different blogs and you had them on your home page and you wanted people to be able to filter through, this is how we can do that right here. I'm not going to go through the rest of them. 5, again, it's just very text orientated. I did want to show you text 8, I think it was. So this Pilgrim is actually like an infinite scroll. So if you have a couple of hundred blogs, you could put this in here. So you just keep on scrolling and then it loads the next lot. Again, you could put this. I wouldn't put this on a home page because you're never going to get to the bottom of the home page. But if you had just a blog archive, maybe you want to put them in there somewhere. It's really up to you. I can't really see where I would use them on a website, but you definitely have the option. And then again, very similar, but you can sort by category. All right, so let's jump into the demo page. I'm going to just close this. Okay, so for this demo page, I'm just going to create one row for this one. And then I'll get rid of these. So you don't have to actually do anything to your blogs other than set the feature image. Everything else where your blogs are displayed on the front page or even like on a home page of a blog homepage, I call it. The advanced post module is it's going through and pulling all the different pieces of data for this to be able to be displayed in this way. So you would just go ahead and create your blogs as you usually would, and we'll go through the blog trainings in the next couple of videos. But you would just come along and hit modules. We're going to be, it's a UABB module, and it is advanced posts. Grab it, drag it on down, and it's going to go and populate, okay? So this is its default setting, the way it is right at the moment. So there's a few things that we can start working on. First of all, I'm going to go a masonry grid, just because there's a few different options that I want to show you. So you can have a number of posts to show. This is in a column. So you could have 3 per column, which we have. And then if you shrink down, you'll see, I'll save this then. So then if we shrink down to a desktop, it should have pulled in, it should be 2. And then, okay. Well, maybe did I not change the settings? Probably not. All right, so yeah, maybe I have to actually save that. So that's how you would, yeah, I'm probably going to have to save it, but let's have a look. Let's see what it would look like. Yeah, as you can see that it's responding properly. So that's just how many blogs will be displayed, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or mobile. So jumping back into the features, so you do have these couple of different options. You have that masonry, you have the carousel. So if you wanted to go the carousel grid, this is the carousel you can see. So you got your arrows here, and then just depending on how many you wanted per column. It's not actually changing, but you can see when you actually save it, it changes. So post to scroll, you can just have one scrolling. Autoplay, yeah, why not go the autoplay? So we could just go and have a bit of a look. So that's the carousel moving along, which is kind of cool. I don't mind that. As you can see, these images aren't exactly in, they're not the best quality. So what you need to do is come to, I think it's style. Maybe it's control. Okay, so the feature image is being displayed only as, for custom, please clear the page cache. Okay. So these images are only being displayed as a small. So you want to go large. And I'll show you the feature size that we need. But if you display it as large, you can see it's cleared them right up. So let's keep going down. Carousel filter. This is, yeah, how many posts are scrolling at every one time. So you can see like it was jumping one post and then another post. You could have it jump two posts. Auto speed, infinite loop. So you're going to have the arrows on the inside or the outside. This is where you can choose, the arrows. A little bit hard to see. So yeah, they're on the outside. But if you're doing a carousel, it's not that important to have those on there. So you could just keep them. You could turn the arrows off if you wanted and just let it scroll back and forth. Particularly if you're only scrolling between 4 posts, it's not that urgent. It's not that necessary to have them. So I'm going to go back to carousel. So you got the grid, you got the feeds. So the feeds are more, as you can see, just one at a time where you would just scroll down. Now this would be a great example to use on a blog homepage. So if you had, like I mentioned, 3 or 4 people blogging, each of them would have their own blog homepage. So I'm just going to work with masonry because I think it's one of the nicest, and it's also what is displayed on this demo theme here. So if you want to kind of replicate something like this, this is how we will go ahead and do that. So I'm going to leave the columns the same. Okay, so your query is custom query. So this is actually what's going to populate this advanced post. So if you had 3 or 4 people blogging, what you would do, and we'll go through this when we set up the blogs, but they would all be blogging under a category. And a category can be the name of the blog or the name of the person, but each separate blog would have a different category. So we would go ahead and set up them as categories. So that's how it knows what to pull in. So we can go custom or main. Main is just going to pull everything. So this is some of the older ones. And if we have custom, that's where we can go. The custom query is going to be all the posts. And then we can have the number of posts displayed is 6. So I don't have 6 separate individual demo ones. That's why it's only showing 5. So I would just say 3 is going to be enough. This is, so the offset is enter the total number of posts you want to skip. Don't worry about that. Sort by ID. Again, you can sort by ID, you can sort by date. So we can go date. So that means the last blog will be the first blog there, depending on what order, descending or ascending. So that's how you kind of manage all that there. Now, this filter here is where if we wanted to have, let me show you. If we wanted to have the masonry, and then if we wanted to have those buttons, like on, I think it was example 8 or 7, was it? 6 maybe? 5 maybe? 4? Okay, so if we wanted to have these buttons, this is how we go and set it up here. So we need to have this filter set to categories, and then that's going to bring up this button display. Okay, you can have all education, and then, so I actually, these are categories that I had to put in. So at the moment, we can match these categories. So if you had 7 or 8 different categories, this is where and you only wanted to show 2 or 3 of them on the home page, this is where you would go and set that up. And you can filter it by categories or by different posts, so you can go ahead and match them up and put certain posts that you wanted to display. Or you can do that by tags. And again, you can do that by author. So again, I'm going to go into a little bit more training with setting up when we set up the actual blogs, and we'll come back to this advanced post in a little bit more detail. So the controls, this is whether we're going to display this image or not. So if you don't want to display the image, you can just turn it off there, and it's just going to give you the text. Display the title. This is where you can turn on and off the title. I would always have the title on, because it's going to explain and grab people's attention. Okay, this is where some of this meta information is. So as you can see, if I just turn this off, it's just going to get rid of this line underneath. Okay, and we can turn that back on. Now, depending on how you set up your website, I think it's good to have at least the date there. But this is where you can turn the author on and off. Now, where it says test by Dave, by test demo site 123, that's just my email address, because when we set up the username, that's what I set that as. Now we can go back and we'll change that when we set up our blogs. We'll set up the users properly. And then, like I mentioned, you can show the date, format, show categories, show tags, show comments. It gets a little bit cluttered on this front page. So I usually just keep them to off or no. All right, so this is where we would go ahead and display content, yes or no. So if we turn that off, I think we're just stuck with the image and the header and that metadata. So we definitely want to show some content. Okay, now the content, we can just have an extract of it, or we can go and have the full content. So the full blog would be displayed, which again is not great, because it just gets it far too cluttered. So you just want to have the same, amount for each one, just a small teaser, as you say. And I'll show you how we'll set that up with the blog. Just taking a few notes just to add down into the course content. Remove line breaks. So that's if this was pulling it out of your blog, and after this question mark, if you can see, if you had a line there or a couple of spaces, All that is pulling all that out just so it gives it a more uniformed look across across the 3 blogs here. Call to action. Okay, so you got this read more. So that's actually set as text. You can make this a button if you want. So this button down the bottom, you can have a read more button, or click here to continue reading. You can have that go to the same window or a new window. It's totally up to you. Okay, the layout is how each of these blocks is stacked. Okay, so feature items always good at the top, but if you wanted to put it at the bottom, you may have to save it for it to take. So yeah, now you've got the image at the bottom. So you don't actually want that. Put the image back at the top. But if you wanted to change, I don't know what I would actually change on this. I would probably keep all of that the same. Have your big image, have your title, which would be the name of the blog. Okay. Where were we? Layout. And then, if you wanted to stack the name and the author's name or the date published, that's how you would do that all there. Okay, the style, it's okay. The overall alignment is going to be, you can have it centered or you can go have that to the left. So that's all that text and information below. Padding, again, is just going to be the spacing around all this. I'm going to leave it as is. Spacing between posts. So if you want to space it out a little bit more and have a bit more space between the posts, that's how you would do that. Bottom spacing, that's if we're going to go the 6 or have a couple of different rows. Show box shadow. So you can see that slight shadow at the bottom there. And so you can turn that on and off. Show the data box. So that's this nice box on the corner here, which I really like. I think it's really cool. So you can set the date there. And then if you've got the date published there, you can go back to... you can go back to the post data and then turn off the date, and it should stay in that top corner. Yeah. So you can turn the date off so it's not displayed underneath, and then have it in that top corner, which I think looks really cool. Okay, masonry equal height. So if we turn this, see how it's actually cleaned up a little bit, but when our spacing was, I think when our spacing was 30, see how this middle one it's a little bit shorter than the rest? If we come and hit equal heights, that's just going to pull it down so it's the same height as all the others. Content area styling. Okay, so this is, if we wanted to change the background of these to help blend in with our theme colors and our branding colors, that's how we would do that there. It's not too bad, actually. So we can have the opacity, so it doesn't have to be full opacity either. In fact, if you go on a solid color, I probably would keep that at 100% or 0. Okay, so now we have the buttons up here. It's how they will be, just some styling for these buttons. So we can have the button centered, have them off to the left or the right. Button spacing, we can go widen that up a little bit so the buttons are a little bit wider. Oh no, that's bottom spacing, sorry. So it may be the padding then. We'll give it a bit of extra space. So that's the padding around the text. The button style, whether you want it flat or a transparent. If we go transparent, we'll just definitely have to change the text color. which we would do the text color under here. Hover text color. Active color, so that yellow is the active one because it's showing us all of them. So if you hit education, that education button would go yellow. Hover grab background. Again, if you were just hovering over these, this often help would go whatever color you set it to be. And that's kind of it for the styling in here. The typography, again, we are now back to the box here. So the title, you know, this is if you were going to use a darker color. You may want to go white. Again, font size, you can change your font size or you can keep it as default. Again, if you change the font size on the desktop, the responsive mode does a really, really good job. But however, if it does look a little funky on a mobile device or something, you can come back and change it here. Description is going to be the same thing. Come along and change the font in that. We may have to save that for that to take. And again, yeah, you know, you can go ahead and change all the colors of all the text on here. Okay, that was the link, sorry. So, yeah, that meta link color is that color down here. So you would probably need that to be much darker or some. I may have to save that. Okay. Every now and again, when you choose a color, it just doesn't quite take. So meta link. Okay, so you can just keep kind of playing around with those until the colors change and just get it the way you're looking, like the way you want it. Call to action button. So if we wanted to go and change the font colors of the button, we can do that there. Well, no, this would be the typography of it. The actual button was back in... I think it was the structure here, and then yeah, the background colors is that's where you would change the button. And then again, advanced, it's the same kind of thing. If it's the same thing as the rest of the rows. If you wanted to go ahead and give that top a little bit of spacing, this is the place to do that. So you can give it a little bit more room there. And at the bottom, again, if you wanted to give the bottom down there a bit of extra spacing. Display, whether you want these displayed on just a mobile device or just a desktop. With blogs, and it's going to be on your home page. Again, you know, you want to make sure you probably display them on all of those pages. And that's pretty much it for these advanced posts. I know that was a long video, and it is one of the most advanced things we'll be doing in the class. So I will be going back over this particular element when we go to set up our blogs. So just so you have a quick overview of what that element does and what kind of what abilities that gives us to be able to display certain posts in certain places. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.